is 2 to 4 years in state prison, a fine of up to $10,000.
It seemed to always be playing him when I'm going live. Okay, there we go. My double chin. My double chin. My crinkly cleavage. And here I am. Oh, my hair. It goes fluffy and then anyways, this is my hair today. And what to do with it? What to do? I don't know. I am going to get it cut soon. It is going to get a makeover. Definitely. This hair is going to get a makeover. And my phone, looks like my computer is going to die. So 1 second. I have multiple computers now that I'm a manager. Yes. Whatever. So I have good morning. I have my work one plugged in, but it's fully charged now. So interesting. There we go. And now I'm going to plug this in for it to charge. There we go. This is so I don't die. I don't want to die, not yet. Oh, crazy. The energies, man. What can I say? I got to put some lipstick on. I got to get lipstick on to get stuff going. Just saying. There we go. I'm going to send out a blog in a bit to everybody. My autumn, we'll call it my autumn for September workshop starts September 1st. So, getting ready for the autumn energies. And it starts September 1st, $75 if you want to join me for the month. If you want all 3 months, if you want to do the whole session, it's $150. But if you just want to do the 1 month, it's $75. So yeah, I don't know. It's just it's a call for urgency, and that's what I'm feeling. But as I'm saying that call for urgency, it's like I don't want to be pestering people, but I really want people to register for this. And the reason being, a couple of the reasons being, is that the transition of the energies are really changing, and everything is becoming very heightened. And as we get to this full moon lunar eclipse, this is really going to begin to ignite things more. And as I, talked about my peak into the fall, we're going to start to witness, and we're going to start feeling a lot of the heaviness of this energy. Now, Virgo energy is all about a call to action to clean, to get things organized, preparedness. That's what Virgo, partially a Virgo energy. She's all about health, making sure that you are doing things healthy and wisely. And that's what she does. Now, with the workshop, because there's daily things to do within this workshop, and it's all in a workbook that is sent to you. And I'll be doing weekly videos for August, is because there is such a call for urgency that's coming up. And I know many times we just like, yeah, we've heard this before. But when you look at a lot of the energies and the energies that are going on in the astrological energies, and you look at what Trump's doing, Trump is playing by Roosevelt's playbook. President Roosevelt was the president during World War II. And everything he's doing is from that playbook. It may look a little bit different because we're in 2025 and not in the late 1930s, 1940s. But everything that he's doing, for instance, in the United States right now, they can say that it's to clean up and everything else, but they're getting people used to seeing civilians, police officers, and military every day on the streets, walking around, talking to you and stuff like that. It's one of those things that it's getting people used to, right? Um, Here they're not doing it so much in Canada, but we have where we got Carney playing a different playbook, and he's playing into the EU hand. And playing into the EU hand, and the whole essence of the EU is basically a dismantlement of what he's trying to do to Canada, and trying to dismantle us, financially, at the core. It'll be interesting to see what happens when he comes, when Parliament gets back in, and I know Pierre will be on the floor. Um, it'll just be very interesting to see what is going to unfold in Parliament and what's going to be called. Now, this is where things are going to get a little shaky for us. And this is why I say, when it comes to our spiritual self, it's very important for us to get prepared. If we're prepared spiritually, if we are coming into that alignment spiritually, physically, mentally, and energetically, when things are starting to unravel, when we are feeling on very shaky grounds, we have something that we can, um, go to. It gives us that substance. It gives us that core, and with that, it helps to guide us to where we need to go, and how we need to do maybe prepping, or how we need to work within our financials, and within our personal life, and the people around us, and the people who we surround ourselves. So part of my workshop is really getting us to step into that power of who you are. And in stepping into that power of who you are, as things get very heavy and dark, and things are feeling okay, crazy, or than what they are, it starts to get, it starts to, you start to get that stability within your own self, right? And that's part of the core essence, that's part of the core of these workshops that are coming up, because they are self-directed, but still I'm here, I'm still delivering information to you, and wanting to connect with you at least bi-weekly through this whole, um, energetic changes that are coming in. And these energetic changes are getting us to really look at things with fresh eyes, and look at things with fresh eyes, but clearly with these fresh eyes. Now, we have this lovely, lovely Venus, the goddess of love, is in Leo. And I mean, she likes being in Leo. I mean, it's like, look, it's pleasure, it's fun. Look at me, I'm a goddess, I'm so pretty. But she's clashing, and this is it, clashing with Pluto. Pluto's saying, you know what, it's the end of the fun. This is a cosmic tug of war. This is where Pluto's like this dynamic truth and shadow, exposure. Pluto in Aquarius is like, okay, you can have your fun, but there's work to be done. There's stuff that you need to start working on your own self, physically, mentally, and spiritually, but also how you are energetically coming in to a place, into your life, into your day to day. And this is where Pluto is demanding the depth and the accountability and the real connection. That's what he's demanding, and that's what he wants you to start looking at. Now, we're seeing things like this because this is revolutionary. Pluto brings in revolution, Pluto brings in change. And this is where you start looking at what is that change like? Well, we're starting to see in England, they're putting up the British flag. Um, they're putting up St. George's flag, and they're putting up, the Union Jack. People don't like that. They're saying, well, how dare you? It's England. That's their flag. It's been their flag for a very long time. I don't know how many years, but I think it's been over 100 at least. Not even. I mean, we're going to go back 200, 300, 500 years. This flag has been there. But of course, people say, well, that's identifying with white supremacy and blah, 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 and everything else. And so people get irate. But then again, and then if you talk against it, you're a racist. Well, here we got, where Venus would be, yeah, we should go with the flow. We should. And Pluto says, no, this demands attention. This is what you need to start paying attention. We're seeing that here in Canada too, where I'm going to say, when I was in Winnipeg, and you're thinking Winnipeg, Manitoba, it's like, I mean, for a city, it's populated, it has the most population of Indigenous people. Yes. It is it is a city that has been multicultural, but what I noticed more so is that there's a lot of brown people there. And the guy who drove me from the airport to my hotel, one, I was kind of like, this guy was like, I thought I was going to go through the bloody windshield. Drove me there. And then when he dropped me off and took my stuff, and I said, have a good day. And then I just happened to ask him and try to have a conversation with him. He could not speak a word of English, yet he was driving a cab. I guess that's okay in Canada. See, these are the things that people are starting to get upset about. When you start seeing, especially with the amount of accidents that you're having with truckers, right? And how many, I mean, we just had one on the highway here outside of Calgary, a truck jackknifed, and they can't figure out why. And it was, I guess he was speeding. But this is part of this revolutionary change. This is getting people to wake up. And it isn't so much about, somebody coming in and coming in from a different place or a different country. It's the people that are coming in that don't give a damn about this place, right? It's like coming into a place or coming into someone's house and you're visiting and you don't give a damn, and you throw the dishes on the floor, or you don't clean up after yourself, you don't flush the toilet, right? You just like, whatever, it is what it is, kind of thing. And when that happens, that gets people, upset. And that's what we're entering into, where people are starting to awaken and see and get upset over things. Get upset. Well, you could have, picked up your dishes and put them in the sink. You could have, maybe, cleaned up your room. You're staying here. This is your room. Made your bed, changed your sheets, whatever it is. And we're not seeing that. And that's where people are starting to get triggered and starting to really come into the depth. This is if where people, it'll grow stronger. There's a spark of genius, of being genuine, that's coming in. And there's this no current. The lights are flickering, and it may be time to move on. This is where people are starting to say, no, we're not taking that anymore. And when we're coming into this as a spiritual person, this means that we're taking a stand where we're saying there's a point where you can't just bulldoze people over. You can't just do something because you think you're better than somebody else. And that, or whatever the excuse is. Just one second. I need coffee, man. Uranus rules Aquarius, and it's trining over with Venus. I should say sextiling over to Venus. She's trining over to Neptune and Saturn. But this is where it's like wanting to get to the truth. This is where you're wanting to the relationships and feel alive with the spark of truth and shared truth. And that's the whole thing. It's like when you become into this spiritual alignment, you start to unravel the crap, and you start to look at and you start to see the truth. You start to see that, hey, I'm not going to buy that because I know that's, lab grown meat. That's, just an example. That may not sound spiritual, but in many ways it is, because if we're a temple, if we are this temple of God and the goddess, then we must keep it healthy. We're not going to be putting into our body things that are unhealthy. Don't judge me because I'm drinking coffee. Coffee is from the goddess Caffeina, and I'll defend it every single day and bring in the goddess Caffeina. And this energy that's coming forth is getting us to look at that, and to look at, what are we doing to ourselves? What are we aligning with? How are we aligning with this? What does this look like? What does this feel like? Is this truth? Right? I'm looking at, these houses that are being built around me, and they're just slapping them up really, really quickly. And these aren't prefab. Like, these aren't these prefab that I talked about. Totally not. Went by the eco house the other day, and my son is working in construction right now. And I said, "Oh, that's the eco house." And he goes, "That ain't eco." He goes, none of that is eco-friendly, what they're putting on the house right now. And he kind of laughed. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Interesting. Because they're, but I guess everything inside, what they're going to be painting with, and everything else is supposed to be eco or whatever. But this is awakening, right? What they're selling you. And then also what we started to talk about too, he goes, they say it's eco, but where it comes from, or how they create it to call it eco, he goes, that's causing more damage than if you go into the forest, you cut the tree down, you replant some trees and stuff, and you do that whole thing, than if you're bringing in all of these plastics and everything else. And he goes, how does that end up like seeping through? How do they make it? How, what are their what's the energy used to create that, right? So this is again, this is Uranus. He's a shaker, and he shakes things up because people got very comfortable in thinking this is the right thing. And now we're finding out it isn't. It's just like when people buy organic food. Now, I've worked in the grocery industry for a few years, but I also know, like, even from working at an organic store, that talking to the guy, head of groceries, or head of produce, he goes, this isn't really organic, because anything organic that comes across the border in Canada gets sprayed. They might call it an organic spray. He goes, but really it isn't. He goes, anything you buy, soak it in some baking soda. He goes, you'd be surprised at the shit that comes off of it. And it's true. It's true, because you think it's organic. The only thing that would be totally somewhat organic would be if you grew it yourself in your own backyard. Because your soil, what you put in your soil, what you put on your plants, etc. Right? It's like people who use Miracle-Gro and use Miracle-Gro to grow things. Well, Miracle-Gro isn't really good for your plants. And as a lot of my as a lot of my good friends who smoke will tell you, you don't put Miracle-Gro on your personal crops, because it'll kill it, right? So these are things that this energy is sparking. It's sparking us to look at, with Saturn, preparing to go back into Pisces, means we've had a taste of the new world and Aries energy, right? But we are about to revisit the spiritual reality checks, as and what is built in illusion. This is where, especially as the two of them with Saturn and Neptune going back into Pisces, it's really to do, again, that spiritual checkup. Is this the truth that we want to go through with? What is grounded in the divine truth? And this is the wake up of saying, no, we do not abide with this way of living. We do not want to do this way of living. And it starts at the grassroots. It starts where, again, where do, the clothes that you wear and everything else. I'm a thrifter. I love to thrift. I love to buy my clothes at secondhand places. And I know people, this one years ago, she got upset. She goes, "Oh, my husband said I shouldn't be thrifting anymore." And I said, "Why not?" And she said, "Well, because if you buy secondhand, then you're secondhand." And I'm like, okay, well, I don't think of myself as, and you get these thoughts going in your head, right? It's like, oh my God, I'm secondhand, I'm blah, blah, blah. But I'm just like, no, that's not it. I mean, it's nice to buy new clothes. I'm not saying not to, but it's also to look at things that you purchase and um what are you purchasing? Like, how are you purchasing? How are you putting that into back into the economy and things like that? Is this a positive thing, or is this a negative thing? I think in some ways thrifting is kind of spiritual, because you're recycling, you're honoring the fae, you're honoring the devas, you're honoring the goddess, you're honoring Mother Earth. Where if you're going out and you're just buying because today it's not 4 seasons. I think it's like 52 seasons. There's a new season every week, a new style that comes out every week, kind of thing when it comes to clothing. And it's like, are you buying something that you're going to wear once? On average, a woman will wear her blouse less than 10 times, or a shirt or a t-shirt or whatever she buys. She'll wear it less than 10 times. Um, this I'm wearing today, I've had for several years. I've worn it more than 10 times. Um, you know, this is where you really start to put your energy. Where's that energy that you're putting forward to it? And I'm feeling um like this morning I was just it was really weird because I'm sitting there and I'm doing my prayers and everything, and I got so weepy this morning. And I wrote out, and I had, because I'm not a biblical person, but the weight or matter, weight, reflection that I did this morning, and I wanted to share it. And so I had the weightier matters of spirit. So I was looking at justice and mercy and faith and faithfulness. I was looking at those areas, and I wanted to bring in, what is justice? The right relationships, and the right relationships that bring us the harmony, that bring us, the harmony within the web of life. And and the mercy, be like the tree and let the dead leaves drop. That's from Rumi, that's not from me. um this is where we're entering into this energy of saying, with that Venus opposition to Pluto, is saying, if it's not working, if it's not in alignment, then we have to let it go. We can't keep it, right? Love in action, it feeds the hungry, it shelters the vulnerable, forgive wrongs and comforts the broken. That's mercy. When you're coming into it, and that every single person is from the same cloud, as my mother would say. We're all having, you come on this earth walk. Doesn't matter if you're a star seed, or if this is your first time here on your earth walk, or however you want to look at it. We all came from the same essence to be on this earth walk. There is an essence, that a connection with all of us, to come on this earth walk, to learn, to connect, and to have that understanding of how it is to reconnect to that divine spirit. That thread of connection. And as I was thinking of that, of course, I just really got overwhelmed with that energy of the reconnection. And, this is where, with the faithfulness, in Revelations, it says, "Be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life." The Celtic Farene, the truth, faithfulness, living aligned with the sacred. So they're meaning the same, like to be faithful, to the divine. What does that mean? We can be faithful to so many things in our life, right? But at the end of the day, you know, to me, God is at the top of the list. When I have my spiritual house in order, everything else can come into order very easily. If my spiritual house isn't in order, then it's very difficult for me to have a real relationship with other people because I come very judgy. So I'm constantly cleaning my spiritual house because I'm very judgy. I'm an extremely judgy person. I can, and a grudgy person. I'm a Scorpio and I'm a projector. So there's a lot going on here that, sometimes I am not, living the truth in the faith. I have to come back into that re-examination. And that's where the energy is right now, is to come back into that re-examination on where you are spiritually and how you are aligning spiritually. This means it does, and here's the thing. This doesn't mean that because you are standing up for what is truth and right doesn't mean that you are a racist, right? And that's what people will say. Well, you're this, you're that. And it's like, no, because you fly the Union Jack or the Canadian flag or the US flag or whatever, you're a racist, right? But people want you to believe that only their flag is the right flag, which makes no sense to me. You can believe in whatever flag you want to fucking believe in. I don't give a shit. But when you come into this country, just like if I came into that country, I have to have respect for that. That's part of this earth walk, right? It's a crazy earth walk. It gets complicated. It gets messy and it gets all over the place. And then, this is all part of it. This is all part of the sorting. This is all part of the chaos. And this is where we come into the mercy, where we forgive wrongs, right? So we have to come into some form of passion and compassion for ourselves and for others as we go along here. And I feel like this turning, this time that we're coming into is we're coming into a huge transformational energetic vibration that wants to take us with a connection with more of the divine. But many times we feel we're not worthy of that connection. So we'll mess it up somehow. I don't know if I'm making any sense today, but this is where the affirmation I put down today was: I release what doesn't connect and open to relationships, work, and paths that truly light me up. So going to what really lights you up. When you get lit up and that you're standing in your light and you're doing that connection, it's beautiful. It's like when I see people who um, are very passionate about a certain era, say you love the 1940s or the 1930s, or you love the turn of the century. So you have things around your house that are a part of that. You actually, maybe you set your table to that era and you have dishes and stuff. You take recipes and that and you cook those recipes. It doesn't mean that you're not enjoying where you are now, but you're taking these different essence and they're just being a part of you and you're enjoying it and stuff. So one thing I noticed about, like, I'm rewatching Downton Abbey for about the 100th time. Anyways, they walked a lot. They walked a lot. Just saying, no wonder they were fit. They walked everywhere. I mean, the motor car was just coming in, but even still, they went out for their daily walks. They went out and connected or went to the shops on a daily basis, connected with the community, talked to their neighbors and things like that. Were, and I feel like that's the whole thing, is that what we need to reconnect with our neighbors. My husband's really good at that. He's really good at connecting with people, or he knows the guys at 7-Eleven. He knows them, right? They know when he comes in and stuff like that. So he's very good at connecting with people, and getting out there. I'm not so much good at that type of connection. I am, but I'm not. Um, Believe it or not, as a child, I was extremely shy. So it took a lot for me to do things. It wasn't until my dad started signing me up for readings at church that I had to do, um, at mass on Sunday or Saturday night. It was usually Saturday night mass we went to. Um, I was signed up to do to do a reading, either first or second reading, or reading the Psalms, with the responsorial psalm. It was doing that because I had to stand up in front of a crowd, like a crowd, I mean, congregation was the second largest congregation in that diocese. So on average, every mass had about 600 people sitting in the pews, anywhere from 200 to 600 people sitting in the pews. So it was like, when you get up there, you just like stumble, and it's not exactly like you reading from the Old Testament, which was usually the first reading, then the New Testament second reading. Usually those words that you're reading are, are kind of difficult to pronounce if you're not used to pronouncing it. I got really good. And as time went on, too, being able to public speak, um, just it's not that I'm not nervous about doing it, but it just became a part of me, but that's my dad was a Leo, right? So he's out there on stage. You would see my dad, he had no problems public speaking, so it seemed, right? He'd be out there doing his thing. But that's the whole thing, is like reconnecting with the people around you, knowing your neighbors, knowing the people. It's important. It's going to be an important piece as we are moving forward, especially as we are entering into the fall. Going back to my workshop, it's going to be very important, because this workshop is going to help you to connect with oneself, and as you connect with oneself, gives you that way, that passion to be able to get out and connect with others. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know. But anyways, I'm going to send you guys out with so much love today, and may the Lord and Lady watch over you. It is a transformational day. I feel the energy's really shifting and really changing into a new dynamic, way, and I just want people to be prepared for that. Some of the announcements that Carney made in Europe, about Canada and what he's expecting of Canada, the amount of money he just gave to the Ukraine, um, when it's desperately needed here for many different things, and I feel like we don't have we shouldn't even be there, to things that are happening in the Middle East, and looking at Israel's playbook. I'm sorry. I mean, yeah, they've had shit done to them, but the shit that they're doing, where they're getting to a point where they don't want, the thing is, what they did yesterday at that hospital, it was purposeful, and it's so that they don't have people going in there poking their nose in and asking questions. Interesting. So this is where, the curtain's opening up and saying, no, we're not, this is wrong. This is wrong. We're not going to step aside. This is, I mean, the things that are going on in Gaza, whether you like them or you don't like them, it doesn't matter. It's humanity. We all come from the same essence, right? Doesn't matter. You don't like that bum on the street who's begging, or that kid that's whatever, a zombie. They're a child. They're a child of God. They're a child of the universe. They all come from the same essence. When we click into that, wow, world will be so much better. So much better. So much better. Got a lot of work to do. Just saying. I know I do. So as the world turns, sending you guys out so much love, and have a good one. Take some time today. Look at my Facebook. There are questions there to help you to journal um, today and just to get you to reflect. If you are wanting to join me for September, it's going to be a time of really getting into that juiciness and scrumptiousness of the magic of you. Alrighty. Have a blessed one. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.